The cosmic intelligence that transcends the mind is remarkable in its potential to present us with challenges and guide us in the journey of self-discovery. Absolutely nothing that manifests is devoid of a cause, and understanding the causes and effects of each life's phenomenon is an integral part of developing spiritual maturity. Thus, it is crucial to understand that the obstacles in our path are the foundations supporting all of evolution throughout existence. The challenges we undergo are part of the divine, and when we develop the capacity to embrace these processes, we are truly guided, like a river flowing to the sea, towards genuine fulfillment. However, it is important to clarify that the process of spiritual evolution does not occur effortlessly. We sometimes have a shallow conception when we perceive the interconnectedness of things, that everything flows naturally and effortlessly towards the expansion of consciousness. Indeed, everything flows naturally, but not without effort. Just observe any pattern of repetition. If we let the pattern occur without a distinct attitude or action, this pattern will continue to repeat itself because there is no reason for it to change. This is noticeable in nature itself and in the incessant stimuli and adaptations that occur in the system of life. Here we are not talking about the effort tied to control, to resistance, but rather the effort that turns the keys and, once turned, ceases, as it is no longer necessary. Evolution and self-realization, therefore, require conscious effort. When we observe life and perceive that it is not flowing as it should, it is because something is not in harmony. And our process of self-realization involves nothing more than the shedding of beliefs, controls, patterns, and identifications that are not part of who we truly are. Therefore, we need to pay more attention to the book of life, which cyclically invites us to the chapter of self-discovery. This invitation, often unexpected, occurs through signs. And there are two signs that are among the most important to perceive, which are fear and shame. When we talk about fear, we are not talking about that standard body response that protects us from something potentially dangerous to our physical safety. We talk about the psychological fear of the unknown, the fear tied to life itself and its different expressions. That fear of confessing something intimate to a friend, the fear of admitting that you feel something for someone, the fear of trying to practice a new activity, or the fear of assuming a mistake you've made. This is the fear that comes accompanied by countless rational justifications that are incapable of healing our internal anxieties, which are pointing to the confrontation with this feeling. This is the fear that, if we ask ourselves honestly, we can sense that it is living very deep inside us. It is a fear that is guarding the unknown dimensions of our being. We are afraid to access this part of us that, as soon as it is touched, has the potential to turn our life upside down, to change our paradigms, and strongly reorient us. And we feel this fear because it threatens everything we already know and are used to. It threatens our current premise of life, of ties, bonds, tastes, and even feelings. An entire standard way of acting, reacting, and operating in reality is threatened by it. And we do not feel safe having to deal with a whole new internal structure that is established in the discovery of something within us. Because if we are still going to discover, we do not have much previous reference of what or how it will be. And our neuroses are very well established and hard enough to deal with in this current reference. It is somewhat counterintuitive to recognize that only with the evolution and expansion of our consciousness about us will we discover the depth of our being that seeks to express itself, and that from this we will be able to reorganize life in a way that is appropriate to who we are. But let's not fool ourselves, because it is in everything that is counterintuitive that the ego is operating to maintain itself on the throne it usurped. Thus, at the same time that we feel this unknown dimension calling us, it is exactly here that the exercise of this pillar of value that we know as courage comes in. For courage is not about not having fear, but rather, despite fear, taking a step of trust. Facing our inner fear of what we do not know within us and outside is a potent exercise of evolution, for only through this confrontation we can walk towards who we really are and what we dream of accomplishing. And from this path, discover, or better yet, remember, our deepest talents and qualities of the soul. Shame, on the other hand, is a sign that operates in its own way, but quite similarly. Shame represents our inability to assume parts of who we are, how we are, and what we feel and want. It is also linked to our difficulty in accepting opinions, judgments, and rejection. When we are not truly integrated with who we are and our way of being in the world, we live a reality of threats, of insecurity, in which it seems wrong for us to simply be who we are. And then we continue to adapt to external expectations, sometimes following paths that are not ours. All of this has a profound impact on our mind, which in the quest to fit in and hide everything we feel ashamed of about ourselves, ends up denying aspects of us and developing mechanisms of control, both internal and external, that generate difficulties in cultivating a genuine state of well-being. Not only that, but in our internal inadequacy, we project this internally, reflecting our inner critic who operates judging us, going on to judge other people. We become more intolerant with others and with ourselves, thus hiding what we feel and part of who we are, and therefore living a life that does not express fulfillment, wholeness, and completeness. Assuming the feelings, desires, and aspects of us that we are most ashamed of also requires courage, but mainly vulnerability. Vulnerability allows us to feel, without judgments and barriers, what is going on inside us, in the most intimate realm, so that then with this recognition, there is a movement of expression and consecration with life. But being vulnerable is something very challenging, especially for those who have learned to reject themselves throughout life. Taking a step of vulnerability, therefore, becomes scary, and that is why courage is a quality that goes hand in hand with vulnerability. The power load that performing this movement carries is as great and intense as the time and intensity with which we deny parts of ourselves that we feel shame. And that is why, once this movement is done, the reverberations that begin to occur in life, relationships, dreams, and behavior patterns are incalculable. For some, the capacity for vulnerability will only be established as they develop a genuine trust in the process, which then also generates gratitude. To build trust in vulnerability, we can start first with the small, simple things, but that we have not yet given ourselves the opportunity to recognize and express. Looking in memory for some emotionally significant episode enough, and that, deep down we know is still poking us, can be an important step. Then, writing about, talking about, allowing yourself to feel where that episode touches you will serve as an exercise in vulnerability. After implementing this practice, observe the ripples of change in your life and acknowledge your emotional responses. Engaging in this process step by step will boost your confidence and allow you to clearly perceive the benefits it brings. This will ultimately lead to a sense of gratitude for its positive impact, and then you will be prepared to face, with courage and vulnerability, more dimensions of yourself. Thus, shame, when faced in a vulnerable and honest way with oneself, also brings the expansion of consciousness, which then rescues a part of the being that was denied and neglected by us. Therefore, fear and shame need to be recognized with attention as significant signs on our spiritual path, pointing us to dimensions of ourselves that are calling us and that, once accessed, carry our healing and the healing of much of what our life system touches.